and gents, what a Brazilian Grand Prix we've just witnessed. One of the best drives from Max Verstappen. Was that even better than last year? From pit lane to P3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and follow, of course. But wow, what a Brazilian Grand Prix we've had. It always delivers fantastic Grand Prix racing. It was two-stop strategies, some trying the 3, some trying the 1 even. Absolutely brilliant action throughout that Grand Prix, and serious win for Lando Norris and his championship. Is that now one hand on the title? Well, let me know your thoughts. 3 to go. A massive now lead, but anything can change in Formula 1. It changes pretty quickly when it does, and well, the Mercedes, Kimi Antonelli, is this a driver in the making? A fantastic job from him also. Let's jump straight through, and we'll go straight to the 3 good and the 3 bad. Lots of action to unpick, but for the star for me for this race was Max Verstappen. Pit lane to P3, he was absolutely on fire, even with a puncture in his first run, which brought that first stint really short on his mediums. And I thought he might be in a little bit of trouble there, because the early work that he'd done to get himself up into P13 pretty quickly. And the mad thing was, by lap 2, coming out of the pits, he was already 2 positions ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Which just, this guy is just on fire, and another phenomenal job from him. He had the pit lane, yes, he got the whole new engine in that car, which clearly helped him up around that hill in the high power unit parts of when you need that engine the most. And he just drove brilliantly well, but then he was back to last after that incident, should we call it. Luckily enough for him, though, it did occur under the VSC, so it was a cheap pit stop rather than a full long pit stop. So he did get a cheap one in that moment, which probably helped him out a little bit. But from there on, he was absolutely phenomenal. That stint on the mediums was brilliant, and then we'll always have that doubt now. Was it the right decision? And let me know your thoughts on this, because I'm split. Should they have held out on the mediums when he had 7 laps, slightly older mediums than Lando Norris did when he pit? Did he have the pace? Could he have defended that lead from Lando Norris at that time? And I'm still going back and forth in my head, because it's Max Verstappen, and could he have done that? And that would have been an attempt and a fight, and a defensive fight for the win. But nevertheless, it came off, and he went for the softs, and he had all brand new set of softs, which I can see why they went for that. If it wasn't a brand new set of softs, sat there fresh waiting in the garage for that moment, I think he might have thought differently. But his pace was fantastic at the beginning. But I think the tyre wear was just a little too much on them softs, even with the lighter fuel load at the end. And he didn't even get past Kimi Antonelli, which at one point looked like it was a given, and it looked like he would be fighting for the win with Lando Norris. But nevertheless, you can't take away from it. From pits to P3 was a fantastic drive, where we've seen this car from in the sprint race, qualifying even, they went completely the wrong direction. It made sense to probably start from the pit lane when you know you're just going to struggle around this whole circuit. You can't do anything after qualifying unless you break part payment rules and start from the pits. And it was kind of a no-brainer, really. The team must have done a fantastic job to get that car to where it was, because if he'd had that car in qualifying, for example, you'd thought Max was winning that race, hands down. Clearly the quickest car on the circuit, pretty much all race actually, and he would have had Lando Norris's number. But Lando clearly got, should we say, lucky, I suppose, or probably not. The Red Bull just did a bad job at the beginning of the weekend, but got it right when it matters most, but just couldn't capitalise on that, but my 3 good because it was an absolutely phenomenal drive from pit lane to P3. Clearly made number 1 for the 3 good. Second of the 3 good, I've gone for Kimi Antonelli with a P2, held off Max Verstappen at the end. He looked like he'd be a sitting duck. Max did get in the DRS zone with 3-4 laps to go, and slightly older tyres, but Kimi used the tyres really wisely, defended fantastically well. His exits out the final corner, and then he was brilliant through the center S's all weekend, and that really helped him just to get out of that, give him that sort of 2-3 little buffer, and just keep Max Verstappen behind him in the end, because Max was cutting through anybody like they were just not there. So Kimi Antonelli to do that at the end and hold off another P2 after his sprint P2. He's had a fantastic weekend again, comfortably beats George Russell, and it's the coming of age race, as Toto Wolff said, for Kimi Antonelli, because I thought it was an absolutely brilliant drive to hold off Max as well as a young kid. This is one of them drives which you really remember, and he's come into the end of the season, how he started the beginning of the season, but now he's got that little bit more maturity. And they head to Las Vegas next, where when Mercedes probably looking at that race as one they could win. That car has looked like it's got some serious pace in some races and not in others, which is it's just hot again and then off again from race to race. But if Mercedes have the car that we've seen that they have in the colder night conditions like they had in Vegas, they were phenomenal. They were by far the best team last year, and in Canada as well, we've seen that car just be a class of one really, and if it can do that, can Kimi Antonelli take his first win next time out in Vegas? But what a fantastic job. And I'm going to finish with a 3 good for Lando Norris. A perfect weekend for him. I mean, look at my predictions. I had it for Oscar Piastri, but I was wrong to doubt Lando Norris in the form he is in. It was another fantastic drive. 7 wins now of the season, and this was a dominant weekend. Pole positions for the sprint qualifying and the main qualifying for the race, a win in the sprint and a win in the main race, lights to flag victories in both sprint and the race, and now he holds a 24-point lead when he was that many points behind just a few races ago. I mean, that talks more badly probably about Oscar than it does how great Norris is, but you can't take away from when the pressure has been on, he's been behind, he's knuckled down, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And he's got that championship mentality that we've all kind of doubted has he got, but the killer instincts have come in the final rounds when it's counted, and his championship rival, the guy on the side of the garage, just seems to have wilted. Couldn't have gone any worse for him really. And well, is it one hand on the title now? I'm still saying there's a long way to go in this title race. I am really hoping Oscar Piastri can pull this off, as you can probably tell with the way I'm saying this, but and we really do want a closer championship battle, and the championship still on the line going into this final race. And if Lando Norris just keeps extending this lead, it'll be over in the next race really, isn't it? I think if Lando comfortably outscores Oscar again, it'll go the complete other way. So I mean, for Lando Norris, an absolutely brilliant, perfect weekend for him. He wins, his teammate comes home in 5th, Max Verstappen back in 3rd place, extends his championship lead against both of his rivals comfortably as he wins. It's the perfect scenario, and he's had a perfect weekend. Not for a perfect weekend, onto the 3 bad though, and starting with Yuki Tsunoda, who finished last. The 10-second penalty that he got at the beginning was clearly his fault, where he just straight into Lance Stroll and took a spin for that. The Matisse team's mistake in the him not serving his penalty correctly. He was clearly there on the chin. He got another penalty after that, but then to finish plumb last, he was just miles up behind. Yuki Tsunoda just not getting the look when we've seen, you know, there's potential there for him to hold onto this seat. It's just another poor race for him, and it's these small things which make you think that they could twist, where they might want to stick with Yuki, and it's, you know, they are giving him more than a fair shot. Any Yuki fan, you know, you might have said early doors that, you know, writing was always going to be on the wall for Yuki Tsunoda, but he has really been given a fair shot for this second seat in the Red Bull. But for me personally, it's just, I really hope he can just do something in the next 2 or 3 races which shows he's got it, but he's just not quite doing enough, and it's another horrible race for him this weekend. Second of the 3 bad, and I've gone for Lewis Hamilton. It's been a horrible race, it's just been a poor weekend overall. He got the tap from Carlos Sainz into turn 1, lap 1, not really his fault on that one, but the collision with Franco Colapinto, the massive misjudgment from Lewis Hamilton there down the straight, and that was the end of his race really from that moment. I think he effectively just stuck it out to get that penalty that was clearly coming his way with his incident with Franco Colapinto, because his rear front wing was just wedged under the car, a massive load of damage. Even under the safety car, he was just saying, you know, the car is so loose at the rear with all that damage, and, you know, all the airflow and the way it works is just all under the car, and if you get a wing stuck under there and damage a load of it, it's going to be a horrible weekend. But it was his misjudgment on that. He took the penalty, eventually DNF'd, but it's just not gone right for him or well for him any part of the weekend, and it was an absolutely horrible race for him in the end as well, and a double DNF for Ferrari. Another horrible race weekend for them. Third of the 3 bad, and I've gone for Oscar Piastri because, well, it's just been poor, hasn't it? He got himself up in 3rd place start. I thought it wasn't the worst starting position really for him. It was race was long enough for him to at least get past Kimi Antonelli, and he should have been able to really do that. The move, did it deserve a 10-second penalty? For me, it was a racing incident. Whether you're a fan of Norris or anyone else, it was clearly a racing incident. Yes, he'd locked the front wheel, but he never ran wide. He was clearly comfortably all on the inside curb. How much more further he could have gone and stuck it on the inside in that curb? He was more than halfway alongside Kimi Antonelli when he went for that move. There was 3 going into turn 1, and it was after a safety car restart. Should they, like we've seen in Mexico when we got 4 going into 1, and, you know, everyone's going off and cutting corners, and they just sort of completely overlooked that. I really don't understand the steward's decision on this one. Where else could Oscar Piastri go? I've looked at it a few times. He wasn't really off wide away from that inside curb, even with the lockup. Any further into the curb, he would have been touching the grass. So what, are they expecting him to go onto the grass? He was on track. He didn't really run too wide. And there was a tap with Kimi Antonelli, and Cantonelli and Charles Leclerc both thought it was a racing incident also. And when your drivers and your rivals are coming out with statements like that, to get a really harsh 10-second penalty, it just was a massive kick in the teeth, because it was second up at that point. He didn't really have the pace to battle with Lando Norris up at that point, but could we then have seen, you know, some sort of team tactic to try and help him in that fight for up at the front? Who knows? And at worst, it would have been just damage limitation, just 7 points, rather than the massive 15-point swing that we've seen in the end. And is that, you know, the killer blow on his championship hope now? I really hope not, but it's now 5 race weekends without a podium, and his teammates gone on to win at least a couple of them races, and it just couldn't have got any worse at the worst possible time. And no, has he bottled it? Well, he's got 3 races to go and prove everyone wrong that he's not a bottler, and he's got that Aussie grit, and he can take this fight to Abu Dhabi and make it, you know, that give just Lando Norris a bit of nerves going into the final race of the season. He's got the Vegas main race, he's got the sprint in Qatar and the main race in Qatar to just put everything he can into it. He's now got absolutely nothing to lose, but to fall away as badly as it has done is just so shocking, and I don't know what's really gone wrong for him in this car, and even he can't explain it of where it's sort of all gone wrong. Even this race it looked better, but an incident, scrappy pass and a penalty has really just shafted him really, and it just couldn't have been any worse, because it's Lando Norris that was comfortably in the lead and took the win, and he's finished 5th out of the podium again. I really hope this sort of slant and drop in form turns around pretty quickly so we can get a championship fight and really look forward to, you know, these two McLarens battling out up at the front. But anything can change in Formula One, and it can do pretty quickly. One DNF and he's for Norris and he's back in the lead of the championship, and it's a long way to go yet. I think still there'll be some more big twists in this championship, and will it fall in the favour of Oscar Piastri? I clearly hope so, but what a Brazilian Grand Prix we've had, to see so many rookies, 4 rookies in the top 10. Liam Lawson, I've got to give a shout out to him with his one-stop strategy to pull off a P7. Ollie Berman with a shout out with a P6. Phenomenal job from them guys. Isaac Hadjar with a P8, and Pierre Gasly with a P10 in the Alpine, who I had down for a bad weekend. He picks up another point after picking up that P8 in the sprint race. Well, what a Brazilian Grand Prix we've got. Next time out to Vegas after a 2-week break, and it's 3 back-to-back races for the final 3 weekends of the season. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that race. Who was your driver of the day? Was it Max Verstappen with a brilliant race? Was it Kimi Antonelli? Or would you give it Lando Norris? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.